Drew.
And just like that, we're off. We're running another brand new live edition of Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. And a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff to get to today on this Tuesday, 256-576-4977. But before we get to all of that stuff, just want to remind everyone and take a second before we get into all this Thanksgiving goodness that mark your calendars for December 14th. That is the 97.7 ESPN, The Zone Family Toy Drive. Not just for families, but it is our Toy Drive night, holiday party for you, the listeners. All you have to do is bring a toy, or if you are a family, you can bring. We invite you and we encourage you to bring a toy for each of you and come to Flow Indoor Trampoline Park right off of Drake Avenue. All you have to do is bring a toy and you get to enjoy the entire building of Flow Indoor Trampoline Park. That's it. You come enjoy some food. Bubby's Diner. This is all presented by Talent Heating and Air. Our good friends at Talent Heating and Air were like, hey, let's do something fun, and we are. Bubby's Diner is going to jump on board. They're going to cater the food. We're going to have food there for you to eat. Mark your calendars for December 14th at Flow Indoor Trampoline Park. All you got to do is bring a toy, and then you get to enjoy miniature golf. We're going to have a miniature golf competition. You can go on all the trampolines, play basketball. Even Drew DeArmond is going to be on a trampoline, right?
Wrong.
Okay. Anyway, we got a lot of good.
At least not for long. If I am on one, you better take a picture.
Yeah. We got a lot of good stuff. And speaking of like trampolines, I mean, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. Everyone keeps telling us, hey, this Auburn coaching search is going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be bouncing all over the place. And because of one tweet yesterday, it is bouncing all over the place. And that one tweet said that Lane Kiffin is going to step down as the Rebels coach on Friday, head to Auburn to become the Tigers' next head coach, according to sources. And then it went on to say, sources say the Tigers haven't officially offered the job to anyone yet. Lane Kiffin didn't waste any time. He chimed in on Twitter saying, that's news to me, John. Nice sources. And then Lane Kiffin went so far as to put out another tweet that poked fun of the individual poking or coming up with the tweet. And so Lane Kiffin was on Twitter defending the fact. In fact, he even wrote another one that said fake news. So, boy, oh boy.
He even wrote one that had John Sokoloff taking another job at another TV station.
Yeah.
It was breaking news. So, well, I mean, I just think it was a little bit reckless. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially if you word it and say he hasn't even been offered the job. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, to me, that it was bizarre. I mean, it may very well happen, but you know, I've been asked a bunch in the last several hours. You know, is Lane Kiffin to Auburn done? What are your sources saying? What have you heard? I haven't heard anything definitive on that, in that direction. So I definitely wouldn't call it, you know, breaking news. It's a done deal. I mean, that's just, to me, that's not smart. You know, I know you're trying to get out front. Everybody wants to be first. But to me, especially when I've seen, you know, coaching searches quickly take a turn or, you know, a counter offer happen or whatnot, you know, I mean, I'll never forget the Egg Bowl where the winning coach got fired 2 or 3 days later.
Yeah.
Or several days later or whatnot when Joe Moorhead was shown the door. So, again, you never know in a coaching search. I will say this definitively, and I've said it throughout. I mean, Lane Kiffin is Auburn's first choice. I think that's obvious now. That's not a smokescreen. That's who that they would like to have as their next head football coach. because of the situation with the way he builds programs through the portal and the analytics that he uses. Because regardless if Auburn won the Iron Bowl or not, Scott, this is going to be a roster that's going to be decimated by graduation and transfer.
No, you're absolutely correct.
I mean, it's going to be the biggest rebuild, in college football. So they need to have somebody there that's going to be very aggressive in the transfer portal to try to get, an offensive line put together, a defensive line put together, perhaps even add another quarterback because, again, we don't know if Ashford's the long-term answer. Holden Grenier, the kid who's redshirting, how good is he? He was recruited by the previous head coach. Zach Calzada, what's he going to do? Is he going to stay at Auburn? We just really don't know. And so there's a lot of uncertainty. They still don't have a good enough wide receiver core. So, it's kind of strange for Auburn. And Carnell Williams has injected a lot of energy into that program, but the Iron Bowl is almost secondary for them.
Yeah.
Because they got to get a head coach in there, and they've got to get somebody in there that can build it through the portal. And that's why I have stated that if Carnell Williams, won the Iron Bowl and upset Nick Saban, he could be the head coach. But probably not, though, because he just doesn't have the experience.
That's the thing, yes.
They need somebody that's an experienced recruiter and is experienced at building a roster and is experienced, going into the transfer portal and knowing, okay, this is our numbers, this is what we need. And that's what Lane Kiffin has done in 3 years at Ole Miss, and that's why they want him. And we'll see, if it ultimately comes to fruition. If it doesn't, then it's going to be fascinating to see where John Cohen and Auburn pivot, because we had Jason Caldwell on the show yesterday, and I think we all completely agree with him that it will be done regardless by the end of next week.
So I got to thinking. I was like, okay, there have been several SEC coaches with multiple stops within the league, 2 stops within the league. I mean, Nick Saban, LSU, Alabama, Dan Mullen, Florida, Mississippi State, Will Muschamp, South Carolina, Florida. We can go on and on.
Ed Orgeron.
Ed Orgeron. Houston Nutt, multiple stops. But I cannot find a coach that has had 3 stops within the league. Because if ultimately Lane Kiffin moves from Ole Miss to Auburn, Tommy Tuberville did Ole Miss to Auburn, but Lane Kiffin would have had stops at Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Auburn. I can't remember, and I don't know if you can. Has there been a coach, and I've looked and looked, I can't find an SEC coach with 3 stops within the league.
Well, yeah, I haven't, but I've also it's fascinating how everybody loves Lane Kiffin, but he's never won a championship. It's just, and he's never beat Nick Saban, unlike Hugh Freeze.
Right.
But Lane has less baggage than Hugh Freeze, so it is what it is. And Hugh has had to use the transfer portal at Liberty, but it's Liberty. It's not in the SEC, and so it's just really fascinating. But I will say, if you look at what Lane Kiffin's done at now, what's going to be 3 years at Ole Miss, and especially the last 2. With how quickly the recruiting landscape has changed, then I can understand why Auburn wants him, because they've got to rebuild the roster at warp speed. I don't mean just they have to literally hit the ground sprinting, not walking, not jogging. It's got to be a sprint, because again, and Lane's going to have to put together a staff quickly, but I think that's why probably at least half of the current staff at Auburn right now, and a lot of those guys have direct ties to the university, including Carnell Williams, Zach Etheridge, Jimmy Brumbaugh, and those guys. I think they'll probably be retained. Even Will Friend, the offensive line coach, because he has extensive SEC experience. I'll just be interested to see how many of the assistant coaches that Lane Kiffin employs at Ole Miss come with him if he does take the job.
All right, let's go out to the phone lines. Johnny on his cell with us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning, Johnny.
So, I get the fact that they want Lane Kiffin, but if you're in Lane Kiffin's shoes and you've already built a 10 back-to-back probably 10-win seasons at Ole Miss, and you're looking at Auburn, which is a dumpster fire, I know they got all these things that they built. They've got the NIL money. I get all that, but there's no way in blankety blank blank if I were Lane Kiffin, I'd leave here to go to Auburn, where it's a graveyard for other coaches. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, they haven't had perfect. I mean, look at Bruce Pearl. They've had success getting guys who were shady at best, turning into coaches that can win for them. And if you're looking at for a coach that would take the I don't know. I mean, maybe you could get Hugh Freeze for less. I mean, I think you could get him for less. You have to get Lane Kiffin. I mean, because there's already reports that Kiffin's going to get $9 million at Ole Miss. I mean, so, what are you going to? You're going to have to pay Lane 11 to go to Auburn, 12. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if I'm Lane Kiffin and I'm sitting at Ole Miss state flagship, and I'm going to Auburn to State Cal College, I'm sorry, I don't go there.
Well,
I think most people would also think that Lane Kiffin's probably one of the few choices for heir apparent at the flagship in Alabama. But if he goes to Auburn, that'll never happen.
Well, Johnny, I think if he doesn't go to Auburn, it would be because he thought he had a shot at the Bama job, which I don't think he would get, but he would still have a shot at it. I think his ultimate end game could also be the NFL, but he could still go to the NFL from Auburn. I think the things in Auburn's favor, they've got a $90+ million football only facility that's opening. They do have more NIL money than Ole Miss, and they have a bigger history of winning. Ole Miss hasn't won an SEC championship since the '60s or a national championship. Been in that race, it's very difficult there. Now it's changed as far as economics. I mean, again, you just pointed out he's gonna have a fourth contract at Ole Miss if he stays. He's going to be one of the 10 highest paid coaches in all of college football at Ole Miss, and certainly has been doing things in his 3 years that we haven't seen done there in a long, long time. Probably even more so than what Hugh Freeze did. So, and he doesn't seem to have the NCAA breathing down his neck or a burner phone. So that's the biggest things. But like I said before, Scott gives his thought. I just think overall, of course the other situation is, well, you're having to go head up in the same state with Nick Saban, but the recruiting landscape has changed. It's about the transfer portal even more so than high school recruiting in a lot of ways, and I still think he believes he could compete with Nick Saban if he ultimately does take the job. And again, I don't think Coach Saban's done by any stretch. I think he's got several years left in the tank, but it's one of those things where Lane's a young guy, and he probably believes if he takes this job that he can compete head up with him. He already has been at Ole Miss, even though they hadn't won on the field. And again, he may believe that he's already reached the ceiling at Ole Miss. So this is going to be kind of fascinating.
Yeah, and I know. I mean, you look at what he did as far as transfer portal gets going to Ole Miss, and I would have to believe, Drew, that I know right now Auburn is further away from an SEC championship than Ole Miss right now at this moment.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling, and I believe that Auburn can get there faster than what Ole Miss can, even being behind Ole Miss right now with the facilities and everything that they have to offer and the pedigree. I mean, I know it's not much, but the pedigree, I think Auburn can get there faster than Ole Miss.
I think they can as well, and let's just be blunt, 60+ thousand come to Vaught Hemingway, 87,000 come to Auburn.
Right.
And he probably saw how the Auburn fans have supported the team down this stretch. They had really good crowds in the last two games when they were totally out of it against Texas A&M and the last place team in the West. And then,
but how much of that is Cadillac Williams injecting life into a lifeless program and a listless program by his, charisma and what he. Look, Cadillac's an Auburn man, and I respect the crap out of that man. Like I said, I don't, it personally. If Auburn comes out and stays within a touchdown of Bama, or even if does the unthinkable and pulls something out. If they go to anybody other than Cadillac, Auburn's shooting themselves in the foot because they've got a man that's one of their own. And I don't know. I mean, sometimes you get to a place where you just there's an aura about a person.
Yep.
And right now, that aura is all around Cadillac, and I think he's done an amazing job taking a moribund team and putting 2 W's on the board. And I like I said, because he inherited. I mean, Cadillac inherited a program that was probably looking at 3-11. I mean, 3-10, 3-9, whatever their schedule run. That's where they were before he took over. And to have done what he's done in that short a period of time, I mean, even losing to State, and I mean that's the kind of guy that Auburn needs. I mean, personally, and I don't like Auburn, and but if I'm Lane Kiffin, at Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's the man. When he comes to Auburn, he's going to be Jimmy Raines' man, or he's going to be somebody else's prize, whatever. And I don't think that you're going to be able to separate Auburn boosters and Auburn politics from the position at this moment. But that's my personal take on the state, where they are as a school, as a program. And I wish them well, except for one day of the year when they get their butts kicked. Thanks.
Thanks for the phone call. Let's stay.
Scott,
yeah.
Okay, before we go to I just want to make my last thought for Johnny, and I know he's listening. Here's my best way to equate it. What Carnell has done and the energy he injected and the 2 great crowds that Auburn got to win their last couple of games at Jordan-Hare Stadium, I'll just put the shoe on the other foot. If Ole Miss was in the same position and playing that poorly, how many fans would be in Vaught Hemingway Stadium?
Oh. We've
would
seen
be like Texas A&M.
Yeah, we've seen it in other programs.
Yeah,
you get an interim head coach, and for a few hours you ride a great momentum, but nothing like we've seen these last 2 games at Auburn. I mean, for Western Kentucky, nonetheless. I mean, we're talking Western Kentucky.
Yeah, basically what I'm saying is the Auburn fan base is much more rabid than even Ole Miss's. There would be more fans in the Grove tailgating than there would be in the stadium. Remember about Lane Kiffin making inferences to that.
Oh, yeah. How many times this year has he talked about the Ole Miss fan base? Bob the Georgia Dog with us now this morning. Good morning, sir.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
What's going on, Bob?
I love the passion of Ole Miss fans, but they're also delusional. So here's the deal. Ole Miss, Johnny's talking about flagship university, blah, blah, blah. The only good thing Ole Miss has going on is they got good-looking women and a nice tailgate. That's all they got. They got 30,000 people show up to the football game. I mean, y'all have been to Mississippi. It's a horrible state. There's nothing there. Ole Miss is a gym on a turd. Okay, I get that. So they're just so delusional. Why would Lane Kiffin leave Ole Miss to go to Auburn? Well, Auburn is the cow patty college. I got that. I'm a Georgia Bulldog. So I think we're better than everybody. And I'll be arrogant about that, too, because if y'all ever been to Athens, Georgia, you know it is the best college town. But Ole Miss people are absolutely crazy. Why would he leave here? Look how great it is. It sucks. There's nothing there. Your fans don't even care about the games. You've never won anything. Lane Kiffin's never won anything. And the thing that you hit on, Drew, and I partially agree with you, is that the future's about the transfer portal. I'll say this, okay? The transfer portal worked out for who? Lane Kiffin. That's probably it. Kirby didn't take a single transfer this year. Not one. Not one player on the Georgia roster came through the transfer portal. Alabama, who's struggling this year, right? Well, that's another debate. I don't want to get everybody fired up, all the rednecks calling in about that. But if you look at Bama, has Maine Burton worked out? Yeah, he lit it up against Austin Peay. Give me a break, right? And then Jahmyr Gibbs, that's a good pickup. But really, the transfer portal, is it a tool? Yes. Is it the way to build a program? No. I wouldn't say it's a way to build a program. I say it's a tool to get things going in the right direction or get it off the ground. And Auburn needs to use it for next season because they're going to lose all these guys. And now here's the deal with Cadillac. I love Cadillac. Him and Brown were a great tandem back in the day. When I was at Georgia, they were at Auburn. I got it. They're great. Cadillac was part of Harson's staff. He was part of it there. So as much as we love Cadillac and everybody talks about the culture and he fired up the fan base is fired up because they got rid of Harson. And brighter days ahead, Cadillac just happens to be the guy who's there, who's an Auburn man that everybody likes and respects. And he's doing a good job, but he has no experience. He'd be a great recruiter and a great running back coach. And whoever they hire, they'd be making a mistake to not say, hey, Cadillac needs to stay on staff doing something. Don't cut him loose. He needs to stay here. If they hire Kiffin, which I don't think they're going to get Kiffin, and it's not because Ole Miss is so great. He ain't staying there because of that. It's because I think he wants to go to the NFL again eventually because NFL jobs are so much better. You don't have to suck up the high school kids 10 months out of the year and play all this game with the NCAA. It's a straight-up business, X's and O's. And I think that's what he wants to get back to eventually. So Auburn's going to end up with Hugh Freeze. That's what's going to happen. They're going to get their second guy. They're not going to get Kiffin. Even though they want him, they're not going to get him. And it's not because he's waiting for Bama or anything like that. They're just not going to get him. And they're going to settle with Hugh Freeze. He's going to do a good job. He'll win 8 games next year, and we'll see what happens. But that's my take. Ole Miss fans are absolutely delusional, almost as bad as Tennessee fans who were number 1 for 4 days. That's all I got.
All right, Bob. Thanks for the phone call. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, dissect all that there, Drew. That was multiple things there at once.
He made some good points. I mean, but I will say this: he talked about how Bama's struggling. Yeah, Alabama's 9-2. Georgia would know about struggling, considering it took them since about 14 years to beat Alabama once. Talking about somebody that a fan base that acts like they own Alabama now. And the only reason they own it's because of a couple of ACL injuries in the injury report. And I'm never, ever going to stop saying it, okay? Because everybody knows who the better team was when they were healthy. But, again, injuries happen. Yeah. So congratulations. You can put the Herschel Walker DVDs up, man.
I will agree with him on one thing, that the transfer portal is something like a fix. It's not a sustainable thing.
Oh, I agree with
program.
that. It's not. But, see, Auburn needs a quick fix. Yes. And then I think they believe that Lane Kiffin will also recruit at a high enough level with high school kids, which he did at Tennessee the one year he was there. And he was doing that at Southern California. Some people think he has matured and changed. I don't really think he has. But again, and again, do I think he would eventually leave Auburn for the NFL? Probably so after 4 or 5 years because, look, Lane's never stayed anywhere long. But, of course, Nick Saban hadn't until he went to Alabama. But, I just think Lane is his ultimate end game, no matter if he stays at Ole Miss or goes to Auburn, is probably the NFL because I don't think he will get the Alabama job. And I think Bob made that point too, which I agree with.
Right.
I mean, Bob made some good points in his call, no question about that. I think he was on top of a lot of it. I think Ole Miss does have a ceiling, no question about that. Bob and I kind of poked at each other with Alabama and Georgia. And Georgia's the best program right now. I'm not saying that they're not. And look, if you ask me who's going to win the national championship, I think Georgia's going to repeat. I don't see anybody better than Georgia right now. You have to be a realist here. So, again, but I just think overall, Lane Kiffin would have a better chance to win big at Auburn than he does at Ole Miss. I mean, if he keeps doing it at Ole Miss, what he's doing right now, like, for example, if Ole Miss goes out and wins the Egg Bowl for the 3rd straight time,
right,
these Ole Miss fans aren't going to give a damn if they lost to Arkansas, okay? And because they've got a chance to go to a bowl game and win 10 games. But I will say, if Lane Kiffin goes 9-3 at Auburn and yet loses to Alabama, the Auburn fans are going to hit the roof.
Right. The expectations are a little bit different.
It's a little bit different situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's get a break in. I know we still got phone calls holding, but let's get a break in. When we come back, we'll get back to the phone lines. Plus, we'll continue getting you ready for the 87th edition of the Iron Bowl. All that and more. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Just got a new wreck coming out of Limestone County. This one is Morris Road in Newby. Sounds like one vehicle still in the road there, so be careful if you're coming through that area. Everything else looks good. We had a wreck on Eva Road, 67 in Eva Road. That one's long gone now. D&L Refrigeration repairs heating and air conditioning units for homes and businesses. D&L 256-652-1207. State license 08091. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Football season is here, and as always, the best place to catch every game is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill. Humphreys is celebrating by bringing back their game day football specials. $2.75 Miller Lite, Coors Light, Yingling, and $3.50 Yellowhammer Gold Pints. $4 Fireball shots. Anytime football is on. And don't forget football trivia every Sunday night at 6. The best place to catch all the games all season long is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill.
AVIQ. Who is AVIQ? AVIQ is audiovisual the intelligent way, where we put our IQ to work for your AV needs. With more than 100 years combined experience in audio, video, and automation, our team of experts is dedicated to one thing: helping you discover technological solutions that make your home special. Once you experience a game or a movie on one of our state-of-the-art home theater systems, you may never leave the house again. AVIQ can build the entire system for you or provide the quality components if you're a do-it-yourselfer. But AVIQ is more than just home theater and state-of-the-art sound systems. We offer a variety of control options for home technology. Energy efficiency, heightened security, and improved quality of life are all attainable through the automation of home systems. Intuitive and user-friendly control is our main priority in designing a system that meets your needs. Don't just take our word for it. You need to see it to believe it. Come visit us at our state-of-the-art showroom on University, just east of Jim and Nick's, across from AT&T, or visit aviqhsv.com.
This is Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. We're still a place to call for your insulation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on two services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatewitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
Christmas is approaching fast. This year, don't wait until it's too late to find the perfect gift. Hurry into Bob Wallace Appliance to take advantage of our Black Friday sale, now through November 30th. We have the brands you know and trust, like Whirlpool, KitchenAid, Maytag, and GE. This holiday season, we want to thank you for buying local. Visit us in Huntsville, Florence, Coleman, and at BobWallaceAppliance.com. That's BobWallaceAppliance.com.
Normally, when you call a roofing company, all you hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Since 1965, the folks at Fleming have been focused on what you need, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement, commercial or residential. And when it comes to storm damage, you want Fleming on your side. They know all the ins and outs of insurance claims and will guide you through the entire process. Log on FlemingHSV.com and book your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Do you know that your car or truck or SUV may be worth up to 30 or 40% more than it was last year? It's true. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and now is the perfect time to trade in, trade up to a gold certified or blue certified pre-owned car, truck, SUV, or crossover. While our new vehicle inventory continues to build back, our Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned vehicles are nearing 100 models to choose from, and a good variety too. Woody Anderson Ford Gold certified vehicles are 6 years or younger with less than 80,000 miles and have passed 172-point inspection by factory certified technicians. They have a 14-day, 1,000-mile money-back guarantee, a great comprehensive limited warranty, 24-hour roadside assistance, and go home with full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. Get nearly a new ride and none of the worries. Woody Anderson Ford, Jordan Spartman. Hope to see you soon.
This is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now more of Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on your home for Crimson Tide Sports 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Roll Tide.
And just like that, we are back on our Tuesday edition of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And I know we've talked a lot about how teams can fix their teams through the transfer portal. It's going to, everything that we have heard, all the indications are it is going to be a wild and crazy transfer portal season once those windows open up. But let's not forget, yesterday leading into today, we are 1 month, just under 1 month now, from the early signing period. So teams will also get better via the signing period as well, but transfer portal getting a lot of attention right now. Jeff from the Borough getting our attention right now on the phone lines. Good morning, Jeff.
How's it going, guys? Did you see what happened in the A-Sun and OVC to get their champions this year?
Yeah, coin toss. And, you know, the A-Sun would not accept Jacksonville State as the automatic bid for the tournament because they're moving up to the Conference USA and they are playing with different scholarship limits.
Too many scholarships.
Yeah, too many scholarships there, so they would not let Jacksonville State represent the A-Sun.
Yeah, they've got 85. It was 65 or 60.
Yeah,
65. They couldn't. And I know Eastern Kentucky ended up getting the bid. I know the OVC played an unbalanced schedule because they've got several schools. And I know a couple I know, and then I know Moorhead. They play non-scholarship football. They play in another league, but they played an unbalanced schedule, and they didn't. SEMO and UT Martin didn't play each other, so they went through all the tiebreakers. It came down to a coin flip, which SEMO won. So SEMO gets to go. They get to play. They're playing Montana first round. But I just out there, I don't know. But they're playing Montana, and I don't think UT Martin even got a bid, which is kind of a crazy way to do it. But you got to do it. You got to decide it some way. But as far as that goes, but yeah, as far as Jacksonville State, I don't have a problem with it when you have 85 scholarships and playing 1AA football. It's kind of pointless there. I mean, when you're doing that, so I mean that's kind of. I mean, they should have won the league playing with that many scholarships, but they'll be successful in Conference USA. I think it might take them a few years. I think, but I think they'll be pretty good once they'll get to that level. But everything, but and I'm sure that we got somebody knows all about Auburn football. I didn't know somebody knew all about it, all about Auburn and Ole Miss football history. Did you know that? That last caller,
Bob, the Georgia dog. Yeah.
You know so much about Ole Miss football history. They ain't got nothing but women in the Grove. I didn't know that. I didn't know they was that bad. I didn't know that. But I know Auburn ain't got no basketball. They got that little Auburn arena. It's smaller than the one they had before. They've only had one Final Four appearance. So they really big time with Bruce the Cheater. Like I said last year's tournament, it was Buzz the Baller beating Bruce the Cheater. As Auburn shoots 6 of 37, that's 16% in the first half. Doesn't make no shots. So we see what Auburn could do.
I know you're not calling in talking about last year's NCAA tournament.
No.
Okay.
All
right.
SEC tournament. So we know Auburn's got a rich basketball history with them 2 SEC tournament banners they'd be raising. So y'all hang in there, guys. Auburn might win something someday. Y'all see that.
Well, Kentucky might beat Vanderbilt someday, too, in football.
No, I don't know. Or Will Levis might actually not suck. Even though everybody keeps trying to make him a first-round pick for some odd reason. I mean, maybe he'll shock me, but I just, Hey, but at least their coach, at least Stoops is making $8.6 million. Happy Thanksgiving, man. And he
did you hear what happened?
Ever thought that, man?
Yesterday during his call-in show?
I did not.
Somebody called in on the Mark Stoops show and said, hey, something about, all these college football coaches having down years and mediocre seasons or whatever, and they still find a way to get contract raises.
Well,
Mark Stoops handled it brilliantly and said, no doubt, we've not had a great year. And it was kind of funny that just tells you where the expectations are now around Kentucky when fans are calling in complaining about being a down year for the football program.
Well, right now, and it's way early. I mean, they're gonna work out the kinks and be really good, but they're doubly frustrated because Calipari's lost to Michigan State and Gonzaga, and then you look and Kentucky has been disappointing. But Kentucky needs to beat Louisville, get to 7-5, get to a decent bowl. I mean, Stoops has brought that program, eons because, like I say, I do think Kentucky has underrated support. Matter of fact, I'd probably put their fan base ahead of Ole Miss's.
Really?
I think I'd probably put their definitely their facilities ahead of Ole Miss as well.
Wow.
Mitch Barnhart's put a ton of money into it. They've got a ton of stuff, and then just look at how many pros that have been coming out of Kentucky. I mean, you're
right. You're right.
I mean, I think Stoops has done more, than has been accomplished at Ole Miss. I mean, certainly until they got Hugh Freeze, Ole Miss had been, just not very competitive in my opinion, not very good for a while. And then they were good for a few years, and then Matt Luke had to kind of be the sacrificial lamb to get them through the NCAA, and now Kiffin's got them being very competitive. But let's not get it twisted. Ole Miss was very, very lucky in Vaught Hemingway to beat Kentucky. I mean, really, Kentucky I thought was the better football team, and so I think Stoops has done a really good job there. And if Lane Kiffin leaves Ole Miss, this is going to be fascinating to see where this Rebel program goes, because as quickly as you can build it back up, I think Ole Miss, there'd be a lot of players. It'd be a mass exodus, man.
Hey, they can go back out and get Hugh Freeze.
I mean, and then here's where the Auburn fans will be wringing their hands and please, 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 are we going to finally get it right? Is Quinshawn Judkins going to be an Auburn Tiger?
Yeah, because of the transfer portal.
Right.
Yep. Pat from Tuscaloosa with us this morning as well. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning. A few questions, Drew. And first off, happy Thanksgiving to all you guys.
Thank you, sir.
What I wanted to talk about is Dirt Neck going to be decimated. I'm hearing Nolan has already, Walter Nolan has already been kind of flirting with the portal, and I saw that it had been taken down as far as him entering the portal. But do you think that Dirt Neck is going to be decimated? That number one recruiting class last year is going to just fall completely apart?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it did. I said over under 25 kids in the portal. I don't know if it'll be 25 out of that recruiting class. I don't think so. But I do think they're going to be decimated by the portal because, I mean, let's understand something. Desmond Howard picked them to win the national championship. Let me say that one more time. Desmond Howard, who should be fired, picked them to win the national championship. So, and a lot of others, Brandon Marcello, other very respected media people, picked them to make the college football playoff, and yet they're going to go 4-8 and finish dead-ass last in the West. So huge changes are coming to that team and that program. Do I think that they're going to buy out Dirt Neck? No. I think he's going to make massive changes to his staff because they owe him over $88 million or whatever it is. But again, I do think there's going to be a lot of, exiting from College Station. As a matter of fact, I was even told that Lane's going to flirt with Auburn. He may very well go to Auburn, but he's also very fascinated with, all the kids that are going to be leaving Texas A&M and trying to attract them to either Ole Miss or the Plains.
You can add Donnell Harris to that mix. He puts his name in the transfer portal. He was the top. He was a top 10 player in the 21 class. He reclassified in 2020, but he has put his name in the transfer portal.
Okay. All right. Next thing, y'all do realize that Ole Miss has just tripled their NIL money. just in the last few days. And besides that, I want to talk about that Alabama's quarterback and defensive end have not committed to playing in the bowl. That Alabama cannot beat not Jimbo, but cannot beat Dabo in Orange Bowl with that Texas quarterback. Ty Simpson has got to start. What do you think, Drew?
Well, first of all, we have to see if they're going to play in the bowl game. That will give us a lot more, clarity on the situation. I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them opted out, but we don't know that yet. I think that there would be a competition between Ty and certainly, and of course the Jalen Milroe. But we'll see. I mean, that's what I'm more fascinated to see is how many of these guys, both seniors and draft eligible juniors, how many of them play in this bowl game. I think some of them will, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of them don't. So that's going to be up to Coach Saban and meeting with the families and everything, because otherwise it's just going to be like another spring practice. But again, if Alabama could get everyone to play in the bowl, I think they would have a really good shot. But you never know because, again, I think we all know coaching changes are coming to the Alabama staff as well. So the bowl game is almost going to be secondary to finishing recruiting because, again, they're getting some new pieces to the coaching staff in place. Because, they're not going to be in the college football playoff almost assuredly. So the bowl game's kind of secondary.
All right. And one last question while I got you. Is Coach Saban going to send the Alabama van, when I say by a van, that real pretty painted up tractor trailer down to Texas and to Austin and bring back a savior for this defense?
Well, we'll see. I think Bo Davis's name has come up quite a few times. I certainly think it would be a good move for Alabama. I don't think Freddie Roach has, been very effective as a recruiter or a coach, and I think that's one of the changes that need to be made, along with outside linebacker / special teams. I haven't been impressed with Coleman Hutzler, quite frankly. I haven't. We all know Bill O'Brien's going to move on. We kind of knew that even before the season started, so that's going to happen. We'll see what happens with Holman Wiggins. Is he going to get a head coaching opportunity? Is he going to get a chance to move up the chain as a coordinator? The receivers have struggled a little bit. Even though I'm not as down on Holman Wiggins as some are, I still think it's just some schematic things that Bill O'Brien's doing, and they've had a lot of young receivers, which this happens. But, again, I think overall when you look at it, there's definitely going to be some changes coming, no question about it. And I think Pete Golding could also be moving on as well. I think Alabama, and I find it very interesting, Pat. I don't know if it'll beat Alabama, but it sounded like Steve Sarkisian was bidding Gary Patterson adieu from Texas, and Gary Patterson has extensive head coaching experience and also extensive experience as a defensive coordinator. Would he and Nick Saban mesh? I don't know, but I think he would be a very interesting hire.
And I think, you bring up Gary Patterson. What a heck of an opening that. If I'm Colorado, if I could get Gary Patterson there at Colorado, I would try to get him as a head coach.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And hey, Muschamp and Pruitt too. Does Pruitt they never have put a show cause, and then what crap does a show cause actually mean? And does Coach Saban have the intestinal fortitude to go against the SEC commissioner?
No. Show cause means you are done. Show cause means you cannot coach for the length of that show cause.
Okay. All right. I get you.
Yep.
Yeah, but he does not have one on him yet.
No, he does not.
Well, yeah. We all know the NCAA. All right, Pat, thanks for the phone call.
Thank you. Y'all have a blessed Thanksgiving, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. But Drew, I know Alabama's moving on. Presumably they're moving on from Bill O'Brien and possibly Pete Golding. We think there's going to be a change. But if you're Alabama and Nick Saban, do you go get a retread? Do you go get someone that's been in there before and hope that you have the same success as what you had before? Or do you go and get somebody different?
You talking about as defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I'm talking about, okay, let's say, you defensive coordinator or even an offensive coordinator. I mean, what do you do? I mean, do you go and get guys that have worked in the past, but the guys that have worked in the past, the game keeps continuing to change?
Well, no, I mean, I don't think you're going and getting somebody you already had as offensive coordinator. First of all those guys are head coaches. So
right.
I think you're going to go in a different direction. As a defensive coordinator, I mean, hey, Alabama just hired a new deputy assistant athletic director in Shane Lyons. They rehired him. He did a great job there and had been at West Virginia as athletic director, so they're bringing him back in to get a part of the old band back together. Defensively, I think they should get the old band back together. I think it should be Jeremy Pruitt, it should be Sal Sunseri, and it should be Bo Davis because they know the expectations of what Nick Saban wants. I still think Nick Saban's schemes work. They just need to be coached a little bit better. They need to also get some guys in there that have some chops for recruiting, that understand it, that understand that you're not supposed to allow Clemson to sneak in and get Peter Woods out of Thompson High School because you're not doing your job correctly. I think those three men that I just told you, Bo Davis is coaching at a major university at Texas. I know they're 7-4 or whatever. They hadn't had a great year, but he is a proven defensive line coach on the NFL and the collegiate level. Jeremy Pruitt, he may not have been a great head coach at Tennessee and may have have trusted Philip Fulmer, who stabbed him in the back. And yes, that's exactly what happened. Vols fans, I don't want to hear it. Then Jeremy Pruitt, I mean, there's one thing we do know. He is a proven defensive coordinator at Georgia. He won a national championship for an imbecile in Dirt Neck, okay? A moron. An M-O-R-O-N. A moron. A moron of the year candidate. He won him a national championship. I mean, he did a good job for Bob the Georgia dog at Georgia. And he did a great job at Alabama. He is a proven defensive coordinator. And Sal Sunseri, last year Will Anderson was being compared to Derek Thomas. This year, Will Anderson is still a top 10 draft pick, but there ain't been no Derek Thomas talk. Dallas Turner, there ain't been no, All-American talk this year. He was a freshman All-American a year ago. Those three guys are ass kickers, and they need to be coming back to Tuscaloosa.
All right, let's get a break in. I know we got people on the phone lines. We'll get to you as soon as we get back from the break, but we got to get that break in. Wrap up Hour 1 of Talking Ball coming up next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Just got a new wreck on Hobbs Island. This is close to Joe Turner. That one is coming in with an injury. We had a report of one in Limestone County, Morris Road and Newby Road. No report of injury there. Do your methods to lose weight no longer work for you? 7 different hormones can make it impossible to lose weight. Find out with a free quiz at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeyes, Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Tom Abraham here for my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
There's nothing like celebrating the holidays with family and friends, and there's no better way to do that than to celebrate at Bad Daddy's Burger Bar. And if you haven't tried our chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness, then head on down and try one of Bad Daddy's award-winning burgers now. And you can pair them with one of our signature cocktails or a cold draft beer from our huge selection. Make your holidays extra merry with a trip to Bad Daddy's Burger Bar on the Parkway between Bob Wallace and Governors. Sometimes the best things in life are right in front of you. When's the last time you took time to enjoy everything Montesano State Park has to offer? So close to home, just 5 miles from downtown Huntsville, Montesano State Park sits on over 2,000 acres with spectacular vistas from atop Montesano Mountain. And right now is a great time to visit and enjoy all the fall colors. In just a few months, spring will arrive with native azaleas in bloom along the 20 miles of hiking trails and 14 miles of biking trails. And no matter when you visit, you can enjoy time in one of 11 stone cabins with working fireplaces, built in 1930 by the Civilian Conservation Corps. These historic cabins all sit on a bluff line that offers beautiful views from their screened-in porches. Prefer a more primitive camping experience? Montesano State Park offers improved and primitive camping year-round. If you're ready to take some time to slow down and get away, log on allapark.com and make your reservation now. That's allapark.com. Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Ad paid for by the Sentinel Group. Attention Marines, military personnel, families, and contractors who were stationed at Camp Lejeune. Were you present at Camp Lejeune between August 1953 and December of 1987? You may be entitled to significant compensation. For nearly 34 years, those in the Marine Corps' base Camp Lejeune were exposed to contaminated drinking water, resulting in devastating injuries, including several forms of cancer, adverse birth outcomes, Parkinson's disease, and more. North Carolina's procedural laws have prevented victims from getting the justice they deserve. But passage of the Camp Lejeune Justice Act of 2022 would allow you or a loved one to file lawsuit seeking compensation for illnesses and injuries linked to the toxic water. Call today for your free consultation. 800-593-6027. Let our experienced attorneys fight to get you the compensation you deserve, and you pay nothing unless there's a recovery in your favor. Call 800-593-6027. That's 800-593-6027. Again, 800-593-6027.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone, getting ready to wrap up hour number one. What a fun day it has been on a Tuesday morning. I believe Brandon's still with us this morning. All right, let's go out to the phone lines. Brandon with us this morning. Good morning, Brandon.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, sir.
We're talking about first-round quarterbacks, and I had to tell a guy the other day to stop talking. I said, if you're going to talk about that quarterback in Kentucky being a first-round pick, then you should not be allowed to talk. I'm going to give you a list of names. Blake Bortles, Blaine Gabbert, Brandon Weeden, Jake Lockwood, Christian Ponder, Jared Goff. I'm even going to go way back. Achilles Smith. There's some dummy every year that falls on his sword and costs himself his job because he reaches too high for a quarterback. They do it all the time.
Achilles Smith. I've not heard that name in forever.
Yeah,
Ryan Leaf, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Jamarcus Russell. Achilles Smith got drafted right behind Donovan McNabb. Hell of a drop, huh?
Yeah.
That's a position you cannot screw up at. And people do it all the time because they reach thinking they're getting something instead of taking a better available player. I just don't get it. I would love to have a list of the GMs that drafted all those players side by side and go down through there and see how quickly they lost their job after drafting those bucks. It would probably be amazing.
Well, the Bengals, I don't know. I mean, they had an ineptitude there of draft picks for several years. I don't think they probably lost their job too much.
Well,
no, I mean, they got Joe Burrow.
Yeah, they're good now. But you do look at the quarterbacks. You do look at the quarterbacks in right now. And, I mean, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, those are the two names. I mean, Will Levis's name was put out there at the beginning of the year. I don't know if Will Levis's name is still there.
I don't see how it could be. And some of these quarterbacks, when they were in college, like Blaine Gabbert and Blake Bortles, did anybody really ever think those guys were first-round picks? When I saw them getting drafted, I thought, who did this? Who is this dumb? When you draft somebody that high, they've got to come in and be a proven starter, and these guys come in and prove to be a proven nosedive.
I mean, think about this, Brandon. Zach Wilson was the number 2 pick in the draft. Holy Toledo.
Yes. And he got all that money. And granted, it's not the kind of money you got back when Sam, what's-his-name, got the last big check from Oklahoma.
Yeah, Sam Bradford. About $85 million to be mediocre.
Yeah, and I think that had a lot to do with them doing that. They look up, hey, we're paying $85, $90 million for these quarterbacks that are sitting the bench somewhere backing somebody up in 3 years.
Yeah, well, CBS Sports, and it's kind of funny when we're talking about Will Levis. 22 hours ago, CBS Sports updated their NFL mock draft stuff, and they have Will Levis going to the Carolina Panthers, and inside the thing it says that his season may not be as gone as expected, but his NFL stock has not suffered as a result. He's a day 1 pick, and his size and skill set, among other qualities like his leadership ability, jump off the page.
Let me ask you something, Scott. Did the Carolina Panthers already fire their coach?
Yep.
Have the Carolina Panthers kind of suck?
Yep.
Have they sucked for a long time?
Yep.
You want to know why? Because they always draft the wrong quarterback.
Oh, man. There you go. That's how we're going to wrap up hour 1.
8:05, Jake Crane going to join us from Crane & Company. He's wrapping up his show. Should have some interesting Jake's takes coming up.
All right, guys. Hour 2 next.
Welcome back. Stan McDonald from the Stanton Law Firm. I had lunch with Lewis just recently and with a client of ours, a mutual client, and great to hear all the good things going on at the Stanton Law Firm.
Thank you, Wes. The Stanton Law Firm, as you know, we've discussed before, we're dirt lawyers. We do a lot of real estate, litigation and closing. And, yes, my son Lewis McDonald enjoyed meeting you a couple of weeks ago, and a couple of your friends. He is, as you know, he's opened up a commercial closing division. So he's really helping a lot of people who are trying to close, buy, or sell on their commercial property. And you can't be in this community doing business without knowing Wes neighbors.
I don't know about that, but it sure was getting to meet another McDonald and talking a little bit about his grandfather, Coach Dye, and right. The different things. It was a lot of fun.
Well, your listeners are really going to enjoy meeting Lewis and you in this community. And like I said, at Jacob Title or the Stanton Law Firm, we close business. We close some good commercial closings, residential closings. We appreciate being part of your show.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a wreck on Hobbs Island Road at Joe Turner. That one's got an injury. Got Morris Road and Newby Road in Limestone County. I don't have an injury report on that one. There may be some blockage, though. From routine care to heart failure, Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A partly sunny sky this afternoon. Still not a bad day across North Alabama, southern and middle Tennessee. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 50s. A little closer to where we should be this time of year. Dropping into the upper 30s and lower 40s as we head into the overnight, early into your Wednesday morning. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
College football final game of the regular season. Number 8 Alabama, a 22-point home favorite against Auburn in the Iron Bowl Saturday. The Tigers can become bowl eligible if they can pull off the upset, 49 the set total. College basketball, 13th ranked Auburn, a 12.5-point favorite against Bradley in Cancun tonight. After a disappointing 1-1 draw against Wales to open the World Cup, the U.S. men's national team opening as big underdogs against England. They will play Friday afternoon. The U.S. at plus 503, England minus 178, a draw at plus 304, the over-under at 2.5 goals. Red Hot winning picks at experts.winnersandwhiners.com. Save 75% on any best bet package with the promo code ACTION75. That's ACTION75 at experts.winnersandwhiners.com.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
All right, that's it. It's hour 2 of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome back on a Tuesday morning in the Tennessee Valley. 97.7 ESPN The Zone is your home for college football. Don't forget, coming up Saturday, 2:30, we'll have the Iron Bowl right here, the 87th edition of the Iron Bowl. Alabama playing host to Auburn. Kickoff set for 2:30. Download the 97.7 ESPN The Zone app today so you can have the power of 97.7 ESPN The Zone in the palm of your hands. We've had a lot of reaction, a lot of conversation this morning about one tweet. All it was one tweet last night that got social media buzzing about Lane Kiffin, even got Lane Kiffin buzzing about Lane Kiffin. So that's how we've been spending the first hour, and I'm sure our first guest, is going to have some interesting takes on the one tweet from that set the world abuzz last night.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's part of one of the best new television shows, and of course you can catch it on YouTube every day from 6:30 to 8. One of the fastest growing shows in the United States, and they cover sports from a national perspective, but they still cover their college football very, very closely. It's Crane and Company, and of course brought to you by the Real Daily Wire. He has joined us throughout the college football season to give us his strong Jake's takes, and we always appreciate it. We wish him and his family a happy Thanksgiving, and we're going to welcome Jake Crane on to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline for his weekly visit and get his take on the Lane Kiffin speculation. His brother Blaine, part of that show, that he has predicted that Lane Kiffin would be the next head football coach at Auburn. Jake has told us that he felt like that Lane was the number one candidate, and now we'll get his thoughts and what he's hearing from Auburn, as he still has outstanding sources there. Is Lane Kiffin about to make that trek and be the next head coach of the Auburn Tigers? And Jake Crane is going to join us now. Jake, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Appreciate you having me. And, yeah, Twitter was pretty interesting last night, huh?
Oh, my goodness. One tweet, and it felt like the biggest forest fire we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's crazy. And look, you know, I want to give my brother credit if this does happen. He was the first one to report it. He's pretty tight with a certain offensive coordinator somewhere that he felt good after talking to him that Lane was going to be the guy. But, you know, I'm still skeptical until he's at the podium. That's my thing. Until I see him step up to the podium and accept the job, I'm still very skeptical.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I know you've also told us that, and you and I have been in lockstep, that we thought Hugh Freeze was the best fit. It'll be interesting what direction Auburn pivots if they don't get Lane Kiffin. But we talked about it this morning in the first hour, Jake. The reason Auburn is, focused on Lane is because of the changing recruiting landscape, and because, as you know very well, the shape this Auburn roster is going to be in, win or lose in the Iron Bowl. They've got to have somebody that hits the ground, not running but sprinting.
Yeah, and I mean, nobody's had more success in the portal since, you know, Raiden from Mortal Kombat when it comes to Lane Kiffin. He's the guy that gets it. You know, we've seen what he's been able to do with quarterbacks, and now, you know, you can flip a roster a lot quicker than you could before the transfer portal. But it's hard to get all those personalities to mesh I think that's what's made, what Lincoln Riley's done at USC so impressive. It's not just about getting the players. It's about getting them to play together and getting those egos to mesh. So, look, I think Lane's a really good fit. I think Hugh would be a good fit. And I just have a hard time believing that John Sokoloff would tweet that, the same guy who broke the John Cohen to Auburn story without knowing really what's going on.
Yeah, true.
We were talking about the Ole Miss, Auburn, that has Lane hit a ceiling at Ole Miss? Is Ole Miss occasionally one of those teams that could get in? I mean, they've not done so ever, but that Ole Miss, Lane could get him to an SEC West championship eventually. And if he walks to Auburn, that he could get Auburn there a whole lot faster simply because of it being Auburn.
Yeah, look, I mean, Ole Miss has never won the West. We do know that, but that doesn't mean they can. And with the 12-team playoff now, you don't have to win the West, obviously, to get into the playoffs. So I think Lane could achieve both. But if you're looking at consistent success, if you're looking at a chance to go really win a national championship or try and, up your chances to win a national championship or at least play for it consistently, Auburn has just proven it's a place that you can do it. I mean, the facilities are better. They have more money. The NIL is better. Obviously playing Nick Saban and them every year is huge. And, if you're Auburn, if you want to go against the Dark Emperor, sometimes you have to hire the Forbidden Son.
Well, and you make the great point, though, Jake. Even if, right now, I think Coach Saban's got several years left in the tank. But even if, for one thing, now, if and when they expand to 12 teams, both Alabama and Auburn could make the playoff. They would have in 2017.
Well, Drew, think how crazy this is. When the SEC goes away from division, you can have Auburn Alabama in the SEC championship game.
That's so crazy,
reality, They could maybe play 3 times in one season if you split the first 2 and they both make the playoffs. So, look, it's tough at Auburn right now. Georgia's unbelievable with what Kirby's done, and obviously Alabama and Nick Saban. So while it's a tough job, you're going to have your chances.
Yeah, no doubt about that, man. And so, what are your thoughts on the Iron Bowl, though? I definitely thought the number was too high, 21.5. Alabama has not been an explosive offense this year. They weren't explosive against Austin Peay. I mean, the Austin Peay game, I was there in the press box. It was just a ho-hum kind of effort. Auburn had a great second half against Western Kentucky. Carnell's injected energy into the team. What is your outlook on the game?
Well, I'm still trying to figure out why Will Friend thought it'd be a good idea to just get under center and turn Robbie Ashford into a play-action pocket passer like Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm still trying to figure that out. If they do that against Alabama, they may not get past the 50-yard line. The Iron Bowl, you never say never, but I think they're going to have to get a lot more creative on offense because while I think the defense will play hard, we saw an outmatched Auburn team play well last year, Alabama's going to score. I'm just having a hard time figuring out how Auburn scores if they're going to go about it the way they did against Western Kentucky and A&M and Mississippi State. Auburn's offensive line is just above a really good high school. So I don't think you're going to line up against Jaheim Oatis, Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, and these guys and run the power down their throat. You're just not good enough.
Is Saturday the last time, and this is that trend in college football, Blake, is this a last time that Alabama fans are going to see Will Anderson and Bryce Young, do you believe?
Yeah. This will be the well, you talking about opting out for the bowl game?
Yes.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Man, part of me thinks, both these guys are such team guys, and I wouldn't blame a guy either way that's not playing for a championship. I may be in the minority on that, but I think it's a business move. I would think I would have a harder time believing that Will Anderson wouldn't play just because of the way he's talked and being a team leader and things like that. We saw Derek Brown do something similar, at Auburn with the bowl game. So if I was a betting man, I don't think I would be surprised if Bryce played. I would be surprised if Bryce played just with the way he's set up, the way this quarterback class is. But they're 2 fantastic young men. They're all about the team. So if both of them do play in the bowl game, I wouldn't be shocked either.
Yeah, and we're talking to Jake Crane and Company, brought to you by the Real Daily Wire. And I know you had a very interesting take on Hendon Hooker as well. We all hated to see what happened to him. He's a class young man, became very close to getting his team to the playoff, even being a favorite for the national championship. And I think if the Georgia game goes differently, if he doesn't get injured against South Carolina and they play a little bit better, he's the front runner for the Heisman. I still say he's the best quarterback in a vol uniform since Peyton Manning. But talk about Hendon Hooker and the unfortunate end to his career.
Well, you hate it, and I let off the show yesterday saying Hendon Hooker gave Tennessee fans something that is invaluable: legitimate hope and results. Tennessee is one of those places where all you need is a spark to start a wildfire. And you hadn't beaten Florida in what seemed like forever. You hadn't beaten Bama in what seemed like forever. But you were relevant the whole year. Did it end on a sour note with South Carolina and Hendon getting hurt? Yeah, it did. But I don't want that to take away what this man did, leaving Virginia Tech, coming over to Tennessee, having to beat Joe Milton out for the starting job, and getting Tennessee back to relevance and prominence in the national spotlight. And this is a team and a season that 4 or 5 years from now, we're going to look back on and say, this is when it started, and Hendon Hooker was a huge reason.
Well, Tennessee has Vanderbilt this weekend, and they'll do so with Joe Milton. But props to Clark Lee, though, for making this game kind of interesting.
Yeah, Professor X just putting on Cerebro and finding out, how it's going down. The funny part is we talk about it on the show all the time, like, now the problem for Clark Lee is Vanderbilt fans are going to start having expectations, which is, I guess, a good problem to have. It's a different problem than they've had in the past. But, I'm looking at this Tennessee game right now with Hendon Hooker not playing and then kind of being really down, and Vandy's a 15.5-point underdog. Smells like a cover to me, but if you're Clark Lee, it's one of the best coaching jobs I've seen in a while. But, guys, he's not the only one. Look at Mike Elko at Duke. Look at Lance Leopold at Kansas. Look at Jim Mora Jr. in UConn. UConn's going to a bowl game. So there's been a lot of poverty-stricken programs that just moved up to the middle class. Well, they just built a brand-new prison, and Dad got a job.
They certainly did. And then what do we think of Florida State? I was excited about it. And then Florida cratered against Vanderbilt. Florida State, though, quietly under Mike Norvell, has put together a very solid season.
Boy, that LSU win's looking pretty daggum good right about now, fellas, isn't it? They're a 9.5-point favorite at home against Florida. And, I think Jordan Travis, you look at Hendon Hooker and some other guys across the country, Jordan Travis has made a huge leap from an efficiency standpoint as a passer. He was already deadly as a runner. Jordan Travis was one of the best running quarterbacks there was. Now he's not turning the ball over. He's effective in the intermediate passing game. They're good enough in the deep game. Johnny Wilson's been a huge threat for him on the outside. You go back to that Louisville game, Johnny Wilson basically single-handedly won on the Louisville game with the backup quarterback in there. But Florida State, kind of like LSU, looks a lot more organized than what they have been. You don't have guys getting out of gaps all the time now, or busting coverages, or busting routes, or turning the ball over in opportune times, which they did against LSU. I guarantee you that Mike Norvell doesn't run a quick pitch at the one again in the rest of his career. I can promise you that. But it's been a great story, and I'm happy for Mike because nobody cares more than that guy.
You mentioned expectations and Vanderbilt now living with expectations. When Spencer Rattler went to South Carolina, the expectation was he was going to be the quarterback that lifted this program week in and week out. What we saw on Saturday was, I think, what everybody expected to see from him majority of the time. We have not seen it. Is that a one-time thing now from Spencer Rattler, or has he lived in his one moment and the rest is going to be what we've seen from Spencer leading into that one moment of greatness?
If I'm a South Carolina fan, and I kind of made that analogy yesterday of it's kind of like when you have the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. Half of me is unbelievably happy that we played that well. The other half is wondering, where the hell has that been all year? Did you watch them against Florida? They look like the bad news Bears, but that's Spencer Rattler. He's inconsistent. That was the knock on him. And there's been more bad than good this year. So, yeah, it's a signature win that Shane Beamer needed because now, going into the offseason, he can point at that win to not only high school recruits,
but guys in the transfer portal and go, this is how close we are. This is how well we can play. This can be us. Columbia is an unbelievable place. I coached there when I was at South Alabama. It's absolutely nuts. They get the towels going and the techno music. It sounds like you're at a rave somewhere in Italy. I mean, you can barely hear. So they have the resources there to be able to win, but it's the consistency of it. And I think as Shane builds that roster out, you're going to see South Carolina really become a problem in the East. And if you look at kind of the arch of the SEC East here, I know Kentucky's kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit, but they just signed Stoops to an extension. Vanderbilt 4-6. South Carolina's showing promise. Tennessee's back to prominence, and Georgia's got a bunch of aliens and the guys from Globo Gym running around. So right now, the SEC East is looking very formidable.
Now, I will say this: we've watched them be very vulnerable this year. If South Carolina can keep this energy up, can they beat Clemson?
I mean, with DJU at quarterback, I mean, he's just waiting to blow it. But I just don't know if South Carolina can put a back-to-back performance together like they had last week. Not that they have to play exactly like last week to win. If they get even close to last week, this is going to be a game. But Clemson's a little bit of a different animal on defense, and they're at home. And Clemson has a good chance to make the playoffs still, in my opinion, if they win out. They're not going to overlook this game. This is a very bitter rivalry game. Would not be shocked if this was closer than the 14-point spread. But again, South Carolina has shown us to be inconsistent. So why would I believe you when you're Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
Well, that's very, very true, man. And I got to tell you, what are your thoughts on Ohio State and Michigan? It's the biggest game of the weekend. They both had trouble this past Saturday. I think both of them were overlooking their opponents. No disrespect to Burt Bielema in Illinois there, but I really think that both of them were looking ahead. Maryland put up a fight as well. I've got to favor Ohio State in the shoe, and I think the winner of this game is definitely, to me, in the playoff, and probably going to be the co-favorite, to play with Georgia to play for the national championship. But I just think Ohio State's more explosive. What are your thoughts on the matchup?
Well, I don't know if a team from the Big Ten West could win the division in Friday night tights, to be honest with you. So I think whoever wins this game pretty much punched their ticket to the number 2 seed, because I do think Georgia's going to beat LSU. But, the weather's not supposed to be good, guys. It's supposed to be rainy / snowy and cold, which is a great formula for Michigan. Now, Blake Corum, him getting hurt last game, we'll see this week. He did come back in for a play, but typically that's the best you're going to feel after that happens, is while your juices are still flowing. We'll see if he plays. And look, I think Illinois was a really bad matchup for Michigan. We talked about it all week. I pointed to that being the game that I feel like that could be the biggest chance for an upset, because while TCU is ranked really high and Baylor, isn't ranked, to me, it was kind of a much different feel in that game with the way TCU's been playing. But Illinois gave them a good fight. They made it ugly. They were going to make J.J. McCarthy beat him through the air. Did he really do that? I guess you could say to an extent. But no, the winner of this one, you can go ahead and bookmark them into the playoff. But I tell you what, guys, if that weather's bad and that passing game from Ohio State isn't at top tier, I think Michigan is the more physical team. I really believe they are. It is at home. I believe the spread's 8.5. I like Michigan to cover right now.
Hey, we're forgetting about the Big Ten West. That's the biggest game of the week. Iowa, Nebraska.
There we go.
My bad offensive Hawkeyes can get into the Big Ten title game.
Scott, I'm convinced that if we ever want to get any answers from terrorists, just replay the Iowa and Minnesota game over and over in a room with this tied to a chair. It'll last. Give it 2 hours, and they'll be spilling their guts about where everybody is.
Well, and Jake, if C.J. Stroud can have a big game in this horrific weather, does that decide the Heisman Trophy or go a long way toward doing so?
Now, I think if Caleb Williams just plays well and USC wins out, it's his.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that performance against UCLA. And then, look, you got a Notre Dame team that right now that's a spotlight game, not just because
it is, yeah.
But Notre Dame's played really well, and that defense is turning people over at an alarming rate, and they are smushing people up front. Now, I know Boston College isn't exactly, a bunch of war daddies, and Navy tries really hard. You just don't want to fight those guys in the water. But, when I look at Notre Dame, I think Marcus Freeman and Brian Kelly are two coaches that have done such a good job of improving their teams throughout. Now, the problem is Notre Dame doesn't have a passing game, and USC is going to score. I mean, when you have that many witches and Caleb Williams' ability to extend the play inside and outside of the pocket, turn into a scramble drill and hit Mario Williams or hit Jordan Addison, are these guys, they're going to score points. But if Caleb Williams does it well against Notre Dame and handles business in the Pac-12 championship, which is looking like it's Oregon, even though, guys, I'm telling you, that Oregon State game on the road now,
not easy.
That is not going to be a walk in the park for Oregon. And if they lose that and Washington wins, Washington will go to the Pac-12 championship game.
Yeah, they certainly will. And finally, to wrap it up, we have to ask you a Thanksgiving question. Are you a cranberry sauce guy?
No, I'm also not a communist. I never been a fan of cranberry sauce. I don't like jelly. All it is canned jelly. I'm convinced that it's made of flubber. I'm just waiting for Robin Williams to run into my house wearing a scientist coat, telling us he just invented it. So at the end of the day, no, not a cranberry sauce guy at all. And the best turkey is deep fried turkey. I don't care what anybody says. It's the best turkey there is. Inject that bad boy with Creole butter and sit back and enjoy.
Well, we got to get your thoughts on Christmas tree cakes one day, too. That's been a big topic on the show for like the last week.
Yeah, well, I'll save that one. I don't want to overload you guys with hot takes about the holidays.
There we go.
Hey, man, enjoy Thanksgiving and let everybody know how to connect with Crane and Company, man.
Yeah, man, you can catch us. Just go to YouTube, CRAIN and Company. We go live every morning, 7:30 to 9 Eastern, talking a ton of college football, NFL, the World Cup, the United States. Again, I just don't understand it. Why am I watching Tyreek Hill and DeAndre Hopkins running around on Sunday, yet we got a bunch of Eagle Scouts out there trying to attempt to play soccer? I'm sick of it.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it, brother. Happy Thanksgiving.
See you guys.
All right, Jake Crane with us. Cranberry sauce.
Hey, I like it. I was kind of late to the party. I do eat cranberry sauce.
Really? You want it right?
Yes.
Do you want it homemade or do you want it right out of the can?
I'll eat both.
Do you put it on top of the turkey or do you put it on the side?
Oh, hell no. You eat it separate, man. It's like almost a dessert, you know.
Just wondering. Because some people put it on top of the – I'm not joking about that. Some people put it on top of the turkey.
I know. I got you.
He did, didn't he? All right, let's get him.
Aaron Suttles of The Athletic talking Alabama football up next.
We got to get a break in. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a wreck on Hobbs Island Road at Joe Turner. That one's got an injury. Got Morris Road and Newby Road in Limestone County. I don't have an injury report on that one. There may be some blockage, though. From routine care to heart failure, Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Do you know that your car or truck or SUV may be worth up to 30 or 40% more than it was last year? It's true. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and now is the perfect time to trade in and trade up to a gold certified or blue certified pre-owned car, truck, SUV, or crossover. While our new vehicle inventory continues to build back, our Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned vehicles are nearing 100 models to choose from, and a good variety too. Woody Anderson Ford Gold certified vehicles are 6 years or younger with less than 80,000 miles and have passed 172-point inspection by factory certified technicians. They have a 14-day, 1,000-mile money-back guarantee, a great comprehensive limited warranty, 24-hour roadside assistance, and go home with full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. Get nearly a new ride and none of the worries. Woody Anderson Ford, Jordan Spartman, hope to see you soon.
There's nothing like celebrating the holidays with family and friends, and there's no better way to do that than to celebrate at Bad Daddy's Burger Bar. And if you haven't tried our chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness, then head on down and try one of Bad Daddy's award-winning burgers now. And you can pair them with one of our signature cocktails or a cold draft beer from our huge selection. Make your holidays extra merry with a trip to Bad Daddy's Burger Bar on the Parkway between Bob Wallace and Governors.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
What can you expect when you shop for a firearm at Bullet & Barrel? Expect great prices. We specialize in quality over quantity. Expect great service. Our professional sales staff is never pushy. We won't talk you into something that doesn't fit your needs. You have the right to make a smart, informed decision. Expect Bullet & Barrel, Alabama's only 5-star indoor shooting range, to support you after the sale. Bullet & Barrel, 3252 Lehman Ferry Road. Like or follow us on Facebook. Come see us soon.
Men, are you having performance issues in the bedroom? Is erectile dysfunction affecting your confidence and self-esteem? Is your relationship being impacted? If ED is a problem in your life, maybe it's time to make the last time you had bad sex the last time you'll have bad sex. At the Huntsville Men's Clinic, we've successfully treated many men in the area for ED and given them back their confidence, their positivity, and in many cases, helped their relationships. Our expertise is second to none, and our practice is staffed by quality medical professionals. Beyond this, the treatments we use have proven success rates as high as 90%. And unlike online pharmacies that just sell pills or wave clinics that only offer one treatment option, we have a variety of treatment protocols, including acoustic wave therapy. We found that sometimes a combination of therapies works best, and a one-size-fits-all approach can't get you there. So make the call. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. Call 256-368-0333 or go to HuntsvilleMen'sClinic.com.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
This is Paul Feinbaum. Listen to me coming up today at 2. Now back to Talking Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Well, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Don't forget, coming up on Saturday, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone is your home for the 87th edition of the Iron Bowl, a game that'll be played in Tuscaloosa. And some numbers there. Auburn does lead the Iron Bowl 17-12 when games played on campus, but Alabama under Nick Saban is 6-1 all-time at Bryant-Denny Stadium against the Tigers and have a 5-game winning streak in the series right now. So just a couple numbers there heading into the 87th Iron Bowl, a game that Alabama 21.5-point favorite in this one. Of course, last year, a 24-22 overtime thriller inside Jordan-Hare Stadium. And I don't know, Drew, if we're going to see – I don't think we'll see a 4 overtime game. I'm not expecting one on Saturday.
Well, we weren't expecting it last year either, but we are going to discuss it with our next guest
In just a minute, yeah.
In just a second, and he's, of course, a noted author of the program, A Curated History of the Crimson Tide. It just recently hit bookshelves in the last couple of months. Certainly, he is the University of Alabama Crimson Tide beat writer for The Athletic. And does a great job, and it's going to be interesting to pick his brain. And of course, we're talking about Aaron Suttles because again, last year no one expected it to be close.
Yeah.
Auburn was struggling down the stretch. Alabama was on the precipice of going to the SEC championship game, of trying to make another college football playoff run, and yet it took a Heisman Trophy moment, one of them, from Bryce Young to rally Alabama in the fourth quarter to win it in 4 overtimes, 24-22. Then also, he had to go on to Atlanta to the SEC championship game and say that was really, I thought, his best game of the season from start to finish. It was the best game Alabama played all year. Of course, unfortunately, near the end of the first half, they did lose John Mechie for the season in that game, and so they would not have him for the national championship game, which was huge. And so Ja'Cory Brooks did step up in the Iron Bowl and in the college football playoff in the Cotton Bowl against Cincinnati to help Alabama reach the national championship game. But again, they lose Jamison Williams during the national title game, and it was just too much to overcome. But again, the Iron Bowl was a classic last year. Auburn played Alabama off their feet. Derek Hall was Will Anderson, basically was that disruptive and was really, really good. And so hopefully, we'll see what happens this year. But certainly, I think Auburn's playing much better than they were even 3 weeks ago. And so there has to be some apprehension there. And that's why I was a little surprised that the point spread was still 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, now we can bring in Aaron Suttles.
Absolutely, and we always appreciate our time with him. Again, he just covered the University of Alabama for over a decade and is now with The Athletic, one of the best resources there is if you want to to read the written word. And our next guest is one of the most gifted with that. As we said, his book is flying off the shelves. Be a great Christmas gift for everyone, the big University of Alabama Crimson Tide fan in your family. And, of course, we're talking about Aaron Suttles. Aaron, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Your thoughts on this Iron Bowl? We were just talking about it. Scott was like, surely we won't see a 4 overtime game last year, but we didn't see that one coming either.
We didn't. I think this is a sort of a character check for this Alabama team. And, I wrote a couple weeks ago after Ole Miss, we were all disappointed in the way this season turned out. We were disappointed because of the way this roster is constructed, because of the leadership that we thought this team had, and certainly does in some respects. So there were reasons why the expectations existed. And quite frankly, this team has not played up to them. And so we've all been disappointed, but there's only so many times you can write that. And when they went on the road and beat the number 11 team in the country, and they didn't quit, and they got down by 10 multiple times, I wanted to point out, you can say a lot about this team, but they haven't quit. They were down 18 on the road at Tennessee against the explosive offense. They didn't quit. They came back and got a lead. So this team has underperformed, but they haven't quit. So I don't think they're going to quit versus Auburn. But this is a competitive character check. You're not just better than Auburn. You're way better than Auburn. You got Auburn at home. I want to know, can this team block out the noise of whatever guys may be going pro, and maybe this isn't where this team wanted to be in the postseason. I don't care about any of that. This is your biggest rival. You put your foot on their throat, and you don't let them up.
Yeah, consistency on offense. I think Alabama fans want to see a 4-quarter consistently played game on offense.
I think I'm right there with you. I've had to cover every minute of this team, and I've said the same thing. And I think it comes down to I just don't – guys, we're 11 games into this season. I still don't know what they're trying to do offensively from an identity. I think they've taken some steps, and this is when I wrote at Ole Miss. There was a marked difference in the second half of the push I saw up front and Jace McClellan running the ball. That's an Alabama offense I remember. That's an Alabama offense that's trying to establish an identity of running the football, of toughness, and that's okay if that's what you are in this day of spread offense. Maybe that's not what Alabama needs to be, but it shouldn't have taken you 10.5 games to figure it out. And we saw some signs of that. Nick Saban even said it this week, that continued versus Austin Peay, even though you got to consider the level of competition. But I don't know what they're trying to do, and that comes back to the offensive coordinator. I know I'm not going to be the latest one to jump in a line to just want to hang Bill O'Brien in the public square, but I don't know what they're trying to do. I think he gets distracted too easy, and they get away from the run far too often. The development of the wide receivers has not been good. I will give Bill O'Brien credit. I think I've told you guys before, I like the way he's been creative at times in using Jahmyr Gibbs in the passing game. That's helped out a lot. But just in terms of an offensive identity, what is it? I still don't know 11 games into the season.
Well, and I will say the last 6 quarters we've seen the Jace McClellan I thought we might see all year. I mean, when he had the 81-yarder to the house against Texas, I thought he was going to be a big part of this offense. Sometimes, though, it's getting back completely from an ACL, but the thump that Jace has shown to me, this offense has run smoother when you continually feed him and then maybe use Jahmyr Gibbs in this game as a slot guy and a complement to Jace McClellan, who seems to have kind of taken the torch, Aaron.
He said he's made the most of his opportunities, Drew, and good for him. It looks like he's playing with purpose. And again, I'm not trying to degrade anybody on that Alabama team. I know they work so much harder than any of us realize, and they put in all the effort. But the way it looks is that it means something to Jay. The way he runs hard, he should be your sort of bulk carry back. And Jahmyr can be a third down back. Jahmyr can be a slot receiver, as you said. You can mix it up with him, but Jace McClellan needs to be the guy that gets the majority of the carry. He's proven that, and you're right. Maybe it was the injury and he's slow to come back from it, but I've been telling people all year long, Jace McClellan could start at most places across the country. He's that good, and part of that's just how good Jahmyr is. But with the offensive line the way it is, I think Jace is the better built back for what this offensive line currently is.
Yeah, kind of. What do you think the offensive line is? Let the listeners know when you say what the offensive line is. What do we mean?
That's a good question. Can we? Let me first start by saying Nick Saban and his coach staff know more football than I do. They know more football than I'll ever know.
Yes,
but tell me why Tyler Booker isn't starting. Tell me why your most physical offensive lineman, in terms of run blocking, isn't the every down starter. Tell me why you keep moving him from left to right guard. We're 11 games in. Why are you still messing around with the offensive line? They need a chance to build continuity, to come together and learn how to, block together. So that's one. There's just been too much shuffle, and I think, of why it's occurring. And Nick Saban is very fond of saying, we've got 6, 7, 8 starters on the offensive line. Well, that's great in theory, and it's great for your depth. But it's not great in practice when you keep shuffling those guys in and out. At this point, you need to know who your starting 5 are. They need to know, so they're not looking over their shoulder constantly. And I think when Tyler Booker is in the game, you could run behind him. And so and we've seen a little bit of that at center too, right? With Darian Dalcourt, Seth McLaughlin, there's been some injuries there that's necessitated some of those changes. But when I think about the 2022 Alabama offensive line, what I'm going to think about is constant shuffling.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. We're talking to Aaron Settles of The Athletic, and, of course, remember his book, The Program, A Curated History of the University of Alabama. And I got to say this too, Aaron, going into this game, where is Bryce Young? Because I know he's been Houdini-like. He was workman-like, 18 of 24 for 221 and 2 touchdowns on Saturday. Still took some unnecessary hits, though, and we know he's not 100%. He's gutting this out, but continuing to stay patient with the running game and allowing him to make plays with his legs and to make plays with his arm, but not the game plan rest on his back completely, I think, would be the best formula for success Saturday for Alabama. What are your thoughts?
I think there's 2 ways to look at Bryce Young this season. And the first way, and probably the correct way, is think about what this team would be without him. This is a 4 or 5 loss football team without Bryce Young. So, first off, recognize what he's having to do week in and week out. As you mentioned, being Houdini, making some plays that make you say, wow, playing hurt, dealing with that pain. So that's the first and proper way to look at Bryce. And then the second way, which is also fair, is to say he's not the player he was last year. But it's also fair to point out he doesn't have the receiving core from last year. He doesn't have the weapons that he had last year in terms of a passing attack. But I also think there's some reads that he's not getting to. There are times guys are open that he's not seeing, and sometimes that's because he's scrambling around and things go hectic when you get off schedule. So those are fair things to miss. But he's also missed some throws, and I think that's partly because he just hasn't been able to practice as much as he needs to because of the shoulder injury. He's gutted it out, and he deserves a hero's welcome for what he's done, but he's also not the same quarterback. He's missing some reads, and he's missing some throws, and that's not me taking shots at him. That's just pointing out that, listen, without him, Alabama's a bad football team this year. They're a bad offense with a good defense. Defense can only hold on for so long. But, even with him, there are things that could probably be optimized to make this offense better. That's probably the two ways to look at Bryce Young this season.
And then, Aaron, defensively, you just mentioned Alabama. They have been really good at times. They struggled against Tennessee, no doubt about that. They didn't close the deal against LSU, though they played really well for the first half. Talk about how you see this Alabama defense matching up against a one-dimensional Auburn offense.
I think this defense is probably better than fans want to remember it because of the things you mentioned, because they don't have that old Alabama mentality of when we get a lead, it's over. That's not this defense. And partly, guys, I think Nick Saban has got to do some soul-searching in the offseason. And I think he's got to make the defense less complicated. I just think the time has come. It's served Alabama well for a really long time. But, you just got to let your 4- and 5-star athletes on defense go be 4- and 5-star athletes. You just got to let them play. The playbook can't be so thick. It's got to get simplified. I also think you really need to listen. I think Pete Golden, Alabama fans, they want to be the first to complain about. I get it. I completely understand. He's the defensive coordinator, but he doesn't get to do that by himself, guys. I mean, there are things that he's going to have to run within Nick Saban's system. There are things that Nick Saban is going to want that Pete Golden's not going to have the cachet to overrule. Who could overrule it back in the day was Jeremy Pruitt. Jeremy Pruitt had enough standing in that football building to say, no, we need to do it this way. And he would take whatever tongue lashing Nick Saban wanted to dole out. I don't think that's Pete Golding, but I also think that Pete Golding's not nearly as bad as everyone's making him out to be. When I think of this defense, I think they got some playmakers. I've been really impressed with Byron Young. I've been really impressed, obviously, with their scoring defense. I think they got 2 shutouts on the year. They've held 4 or 5 opponents to less than 10 points. So they've done some good things. But when it's gone bad, it's gone really bad. At Tennessee, blowing the lead at LSU. So they've got some personnel decisions to make, and I think that's partly on Saban, too. I like Henry To'oTo'o. Henry To'oTo'o cleaned up what was Alabama's biggest defensive problem 3 years ago, which was they couldn't get people lined up. They couldn't get people in the right gaps. They couldn't communicate the defense. That went away when Henry T became your starter at inside linebacker. Having said that, Henry T is limited athletically. He can't get off blocks. He's not the most athletic guy in the world. So just from in terms of overall talent, I think there's got to be an upgraded inside linebacker.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Well, and I also, too, I know this has been a topic. We just asked Jake Crane about this. He wasn't as convinced. He thinks there's a chance they could. You're close to the program, even closer. You cover it every day. They were evasive with the media yesterday. Is this the last time Alabama fans see Bryce Young and Will Anderson?
I hate to give an answer because it calls into question in some people's mind those young men's character, their competitive character.
Right.
That's
well,
not
it's changed though, Aaron. We know that. We remember Terrell Lewis and Trevon Diggs.
I say this thinking about it from their family's perspective. They've given everything they can to Alabama with a month off before a potential game. Would I want my son playing in that? Probably yes, but I wouldn't if his agent advised him not to play when I've potentially got millions of dollars on the line. When at the end of the day, an Orange Bowl against Clemson, are the fans even going to get really excited about that game? I don't want to call into question. I think if you left it up to these young men and say just in a vacuum, do you want to go play Clemson in the Orange Bowl? Every one of them would say yes. But when you start factoring in, as you mentioned, today's age, where there's a lot more going on in terms of it's more accepted to sit out a game. You have a financial incentive to sit out a game just to prevent yourself from getting injured. If I was just guessing, and again, I'm not calling Bryce or Will. They're great competitors, and they've proven it for 3 years at Alabama. But do I think they play? Probably not.
Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult decision, no doubt. And as we wrap it up, this is Aaron Suttles of The Athletic. What are the keys in your mind to this Iron Bowl and Alabama winning the game?
I think they got to play with some emotion. And then part of that is, it goes against what the process is, and that you're playing a nameless opponent, a faceless opponent, and you're only worried about your play. I think they need to embrace what the Iron Bowl is. And I think losing to Auburn would be detrimental. Detrimental. Because this is not a good Auburn football team. They are limited at quarterback. They are a one-dimensional football team, but they're going to play with a lot of pride for their coach. And they're going to come in with their hair on fire. And I think you have to match that. If they come out and they go 3-and-out for the first couple drives, and the longer you allow Auburn to stay in that football game, the worse it's going to be for you. I think they need to realize we're a better football team than Auburn, and they need to go play like it and send the seniors on this team, or the people that are going to play their last game in Bryant-Denny Stadium on this team, send them out. I just think they have to play with some emotion and realize that this is not a good Auburn team, but this is still the Iron Bowl, and you got to get up for it. And maybe we'll see a complete football game, because we have not seen very many this year.
Well, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to – I know it's hard to believe it's nearly been a year since we lost all of our great friend and mentor, Cecil Hurt. Just some words of wisdom to everybody on the loss of someone that's irreplaceable.
Yeah, it'll be a year, believe it or not, a year tomorrow.
November 23rd, yep.
There's a hole in Alabama coverage that none of us are going to be able to fill, and I wouldn't – you're asking me all these questions. I'd love to hear what Cecil has to say on this
me
team
too,
and read about
every day.
It's just a hole that it can't be missed. It can't be replaced. And it speaks to Cecil's legacy. It's strong today as it was a year ago. I could take 4 or 5 games off of not covering Alabama, and no one would miss me. When Cecil missed the game last year, people were calling, people were texting, people were DMing me. They were tweeting at me, where is Cecil? What's going on with Cecil? When he missed one game. And when that game turned into 2, that got louder. I could take an entire season off and people wouldn't miss me. That's how much Cecil Hurt meant to the Alabama fans that love that program, because he was the voice. He was sort of one of the last words, and we don't have that now, and we're all poor for it.
Yeah, we certainly are. And Aaron, let everybody know about your book signing coming up today, man.
Yeah, if you're in the Birmingham area, I'll be at Hoover Walk-On, Tattersall, the Tattersall location. And I didn't really want to do a book signing because I'm not conceited enough to think anyone will show up. But I did want to give people have been messaging me, and I wanted, if they want to, just an opportunity. If not, you don't care about the book, that's cool too. Come have a bourbon with me. We'll sit at the bar and we'll talk to Iron Bowl.
Great
thanks,
stuff,
Aaron.
man. Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, we are way behind. Let's get that final break in, and your tomorrow's headlines real quickly when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We are beginning to wind things down quickly now. I got a couple of wrecks that still may be trying to clear. 318 exit ramp I-65 southbound in Morgan County and Hobbs Island near Joe Turner. That one reported with an injury. Watch out in both of those areas. The $6 big box is back at Popeyes with 2 pieces of that hand-battered Louisiana seasoned chicken, 2 sides, and a buttermilk biscuit. Popeyes University and Jordan, 72 and Jeff and North Parkway. Captain Nick in the Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Ad paid for by the Sentinel Group. Attention parents with a child diagnosed with autism or severe ADHD. A recent congressional study found dangerously high levels of toxic heavy metals like mercury, lead, and arsenic in many popular baby food brands. Brands such as Gerber, Plum Organics, Beech-Nut, Walmart, and more. Some contain toxic metals 200 times the maximum safe levels set by the FDA. Heavy metals in baby food are known to be severe neurotoxins, and exposure to them at a young age can cause lifelong brain damage and neurodevelopmental disorders like autism and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. If you fed baby food to your child and they were later diagnosed with autism, autism spectrum disorders, or ADHD, you may be entitled to significant compensation. Call today for your free consultation. 800-715-2037. Don't wait. Let our experienced attorneys fight to get you the compensation you deserve, and you pay nothing unless there's a recovery in your favor. Call 800-715-2037. That's 800-715-2037. Again, 800-715-2037.
Football season is here, and as always, the best place to catch every game is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill. Humphreys is celebrating by bringing back their game day football specials: $2.75 Miller Lite, Coors Light, Yingling, and $3.50 Yellowhammer Gold Pints, $4 Fireball shots. Anytime football is on. And don't forget football trivia every Sunday night at 6. The best place to catch all the games all season long is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This is Attorney Tommy Sinyard on behalf of Sinyard Law, and again, proud to be a sponsor of All Things Football here on ESPN Radio. My son Bart and I started our own law firm July 1 and are very proud and excited to be bringing you our 50 years of collective national award-winning injury trial law experience. Check us out on the web, sinyardlaw.com.
Sinyard Law, nationally recognized, locally respected. If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all: attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
Did you know the state's top-ranked private school is here in Huntsville? What about one of the nation's few Orton Gillingham Academy accredited schools? At Randolph School, our experienced teachers and coaches challenge and nurture students as they prepare for college and life. Our pre-K through 12 school includes Greengate School at Randolph, serving students with dyslexia. Parents, we know that you are your child's biggest advocate, and we invite you to explore your education options. Schedule a tour at randolphschool.net.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hi, welcome back. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Make sure you download the 97.7 ESPN The Zone app. We do have college basketball on our airwaves tonight. UAH Chargers taking on Toccoa Falls. Tuesday night contest. Inside Spraggins Hall. Don't forget, thanks to our good friends at Bill Penny Toyota, there are free general admission tickets. All you got to do is just come out there, and you can watch the game for free. 7 o'clock tip. And then on Saturday, the Chargers back in Gulf South Conference play on the road at Montevallo. So a Tuesday night game. Remember last year, Coach Schulman scheduled one on Wednesday night, the day before Thanksgiving. This time, he's doing it on a Tuesday. So he's being a little bit more generous to the guys.
Well, he is, and we need to catch up with Coach Schulman tomorrow and get his thoughts on this hopeful big win tonight, and then taking on Anthony Camara because that he meant so much to UAH basketball, to Lenny Acuff, to John Schulman as the associate head coach. Anthony now running his own show. I got a chance to see Danny Young, his predecessor. He's now on the staff with Bucky McMillan at Samford, Scott. So that's interesting that Danny Young is at Samford. I saw Samford take out Texas Southern on Sunday, 78-63. And guess what? Guess who is the director of advanced scouting, NBA liaison, and as I would call him, the Yoda of big men teaching on the Samford staff? I'll give you one guess.
Who's that?
Bob Thornton.
Really?
Yep. So he is now part of the staff at Samford for Bucky McMillan.
Wow. Also, make sure, Drew, you circle December 9th on your calendar.
Yes.
Because I did not know this, and I was made aware of this yesterday. Lenny Acuff is coming back to Huntsville to coach a game, December 9th.
Really? Wow.
The Lipscomb Bison are taking on Alabama A&M in the new basketball arena there on campus.
That's awesome.
I did not know that. I
know.
Did not know that at all until someone said, hey, Coach Acuff's coming back to Huntsville December 9th. And I'm like, for what? And they're like coaching Alabama A&M. And I'm like, really?
Not an early Christmas party.
No. So there we go, December 9th. We got to pack up the truckster and head up to the hill.
Oh, absolutely, man.
All right, that's going to do it for the 2 hours of Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hi, this is Wes Neighbors. I'm here with Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Sam, tell the folks about Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Hey Wes, our company Fleming Roofing and Restoration specializes in commercial and residential roofing and repairs. I'm a fifth generation Huntsvillian and our family's been doing